After the success of Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2, development of a sequel was handed off to what is now known as the B Team. The A Team then moved on to create a game, then named Project Dream, and thus little is actually known about the development of Donkey Kong Country 3. But the game did release in time for the holiday season of 1996, perhaps overshadowed by the Nintendo 64 and the stellar Super Mario 64. The game is actually a decently well put together work of art, but is still considered to this day the black sheep of the entire Donkey Kong Country series. See, the game being handed off to a different team meant that there was different changes. They wanted to stay in line with what worked with the series, but they also wanted to innovate. And the innovation is perhaps the best thing that can be said about this game, even though it does seem that they ran out of ideas during the design period. The most abysmal part of Donkey Kong Country 3 is perhaps its ad marketing, which made no sense. It is not clear exactly what the game was going for, whereas the theming of the first game featured jungles, woods, snowy mountains, a general theme of wildness and adventure. And the second game had a pirate motif throughout the entirety of the game. The third game seems to be all over the place with robotic enemies, beach vistas, factories, snowy mountains, toboggan rides, and underwater caverns. Not to mention some questionable additions such as Ellie the Elephant, which is a serious mistake, guys. Nobody likes this. You should have kept Rambi, or at least created something more appealing than Ellie the Elephant. In my personal opinion, I feel like the boss design also suffered. Perhaps these are much better than the original Donkey Kong Country game, but they don't hold a candle to what Donkey Kong Country 2 presented in both presentation and strategy. But let's get into some of the better things about this game instead of griping about everything that everyone already knows about this game. Just like the original 2, there is very little story at the beginning of the game. Actually in the game, you need the booklet to actually understand any of the story. But I have my own story, what I interpret as the actual story. Dixie Kong wakes up one day and can't find her lazy ass boyfriend, so she sets out on an adventure to find him and drag his ass home. That is probably the best way to describe it and could actually work as the story of this game. But the game starts off, you go through, you find that you have complete freedom on the map, which is a plus. This is a good design choice. Then you go immediately to Grandma Wrinkly and talk to her. And then on top of that, Funky Kong decides that he no longer wants to babysit Kiddy Kong and leaves the task up to you. Kiddy Kong is actually not a very bad character to play with. I believe most of the problems that any of us actually have with Kiddy Kong actually come from his design, personality, and just overall uselessness. Perhaps if they had more time to design the levels, they could have actually made use of Kiddy's few abilities, such as skipping across water and landing on cracks, breaking them open, which are only used a handful of times throughout the game. But my real reason for not liking Kiddy Kong is the advertisement. This was Dixie Kong's time to shine. This was her game. This was the time for Dixie Kong to really show what it takes to be a heroine in a video game. And what do?
Donkey Kong Country 3 starring Kiddy Kong.
Yes, that's right. What you just saw is real. They decided that a baby was more appealing to the audience than a female. Welcome to the 90s ad marketing. With all that said, the game starts off in very much a cheery mood. The first level has very fun, bombastic music playing. And that's nothing to say that the game had bad music. In fact, it's some of my favorite music in gaming, period. But it did not seem to fit with the tone that the Donkey Kong Country games had been known for. This game seems way more whimsical than the first two, and this takes away a lot of dread, a sense of accomplishment, and a sense of urgency that the second game definitely had. The music was scaled back, but I have to give credit where credit is due. Evelyn Fisher created a masterpiece of a soundtrack that eventually had to be reworked when the game was ported to the Game Boy Advance because of the lower frequency frequencies, the bassier sounds, not working well on the Game Boy Advance speaker. But with that said, the music is fantastic. Perhaps they chose poorly where to begin the game and what music to use when beginning the game, because this really doesn't set a good tone in comparison to the first two games. You can definitely tell that this was handled by another team, and the B team, although they created a sufficient game, certainly didn't do the best that the A team could have done. But remember, at this time the A team were working on Project Dream, which was going to be an amazing action-adventure game, RPG even, with a massive story. That became a story about a bear and platforming and collecting jiggies. Yeah, that game, Banjo-Kazooie, masterpiece. That is what the Donkey Kong Country creators went on to create. And the B team were left with a short deadline to come up with a game. And honestly, with all of that known, I can give Donkey Kong Country 3 a lot of credit for how well it actually did. There is a lot of good design. The game is actually fun for the most part, and the music is fantastic once you get into it. But the theming seems off throughout the entirety of the game. There is some non-linearity, such as being able to choose which world is actually the third world for you, which is amazing for the time. There wasn't much freedom in the 2D space, so to see that kind of non-linearity in a platforming game specifically was a fresh take. So you collect items from the first two bosses and take them back to Funky. He'll basically upgrade your boat. So now you got a floater on tires on a bunch of rubber that you can ride over rocks, as if rocks won't tear the rubber the f apart. Go figure. That's game logic for you. So now you have a choice of two worlds rather. And once you get through these worlds, you can go back to him with two skis and he can make your boat into a jet ski, letting you go up even waterfalls. Remember guys, don't go chasing waterfalls. You go through the game and you end up unlocking the castle. And once you get through the castle and get through some of the best well-designed levels, as well as some of the hardest levels in the game, you face off with, what the fuck? K. Rulenstein? Are you kidding me? Talk about original, right? Why the f is it a scientist that he takes the moniker of? Why is this the final fight? Oh, but it's not. It's not the final fight. Anybody else play Simon growing up? You know that music game where you hear a sound and you see a light pop up and you're supposed to repeat the pattern? Well, guess what? This game requires you to play that game over and over and over again. And you can't even complete and get all of these banana birds that you get for playing Simon until you get all of the DK coins, meaning that you have to actually complete the game and see the vanilla ending before you can get the helicopter, allowing you to collect the rest of the banana birds. By the time you get to the point where you have this copter, you have nothing else to do in the game but visit birds, because you have to play through every level in the game to get the copter. That is 85 bonus coins you have to collect, 41 DK coins. And then you can go find and release the banana bird queen. And what do you get? Spoiler alert! She spits out an egg, and it lands on Captain K. Rool. My bad, did I say Captain K. Rool? I meant K. Rulenstein. Isn't that fantastic? This was definitely worth a ton of my time to collect everything, going through some of the hardest, most difficult levels in the entire series, just to get this fantastic screen where, oh my god, look at Cranky Kong, he's fucking, oh, that's cute. Okay, it's all forgiven now. The best game ever. Anyway, with all of that said, let's just go ahead and take a minute to assess this dumpster fire. I'm not going to give this game a particularly low score. What I will give it is a 7, because I feel this this game has fantastic music. I feel the game has a lot of good level design, although the theming really does mess with the game's overall appeal and enjoyment throughout the, how many levels? 8 worlds. It really messes with the theming throughout the 8 worlds, but it is still an enjoyable experience, and I would not suggest you trying to 103% completing it. You absolutely drive yourself crazy trying to do something like that. Plus, it's just foolish. You have absolutely no actual reward for doing such a thing. No. This is just a game that is worth it to play from the beginning of the game to the end. And that means all the way to the castle where you fight K. Willenstein for the first time and put an end to his tyranny, whatever the fuck is going on. Oh, by the way, it turns out that Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong were brainwashed, and they were actually controlling this robot that you fought in the 3rd or 4th world, depending on how you play through the game, and also fought again at the end of the game. Apparently, they were brainwashed. Who would have thought? So, conclusion, this game has fantastic music. It has some of the best designed levels in the series, but also some of the most difficult and cheaply designed levels in the series. So it's kind of a mixed bag in that regard. I would absolutely advise against completing this game completely. Do not Gerard this game. Do not complete it. Finish it. With that said, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble gets a 7 out of 10 from Houdini Fontmeister. So guys, if you enjoyed that review, please take some time to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with all of your friends. Also, feel free to join me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Houdini Fontmeister if you want to catch me live streaming. I play modern games, I play retro games, and I enjoy all of the people who stop by my streams. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, stay nerdy.